everyone and welcome back to a new video. So firstly, can you tell I'm in my new bedroom and we actually have a little bit of furniture already. I can't believe it. If you haven't seen my last video where I showed you my empty flat, we're slowly buying new things and kind of decorating our flat. It's still quite empty, but we're getting there, which is very exciting. But yeah, anyway, grab yourself a tea or coffee because in today's video, I want to have a very honest chat with you about a few things, just to give you a bit of an overview of what I want to talk about. Number one, as you might know, I moved to New Zealand about 4 months ago, and I want to have a talk about the difficulties of moving abroad because it really is not easy, and it's a lot of people glorify moving abroad, and I kind of want to have like a very honest chat about it. And the second thing I want to talk about is my outside YouTube job. I wouldn't call YouTube a job at all, but I mean like my real life job. What am I doing? What profession do I have? I have my notes here on the side. So firstly, moving abroad. Why did I even choose to move abroad? So if you didn't know, I did actually already live abroad before I came to New Zealand. So I lived in quite a few countries, weirdly. Like I lived in Scotland to study, I then moved to Dublin to work, I then moved to London to work, and then I came to New Zealand. So I kind of like hopped around quite a lot already. But I have to be very honest, this last move to New Zealand was definitely the most difficult one. I think because it is the other side of the world, away from everyone. It's so different. Like I'm not used to the culture here or anything. So it's definitely been the hardest move. But why did I even move to start off with? Firstly, I lived in London, and London has been incredibly amazing, overwhelming, hectic, beautiful. It has been everything. Like I had all the feelings while I lived in London. It was a brilliant time. I really loved it. The problem though with London I have is it is a very expensive city. It is a very hectic city. Rents up through the roof. Any like bills, kind of fixed bills, are incredibly expensive. We're 30 next year and we're at a point where we want to have a bit of outdoor space, a bit of green space. We want to save money for potentially buying a house one day. And giving the visa options of New Zealand and Austria, New Zealand is definitely the easier one to get into. So we said, let's go with New Zealand, apply for a 2-year visa and see if we get it. And we did. We did get it. We got it much quicker than we thought we would. And then we had 6 months to pack everything up and go. I think the first time I ever started to question my decision was when we said goodbye to all of our friends in London. It just didn't feel right. It felt like I'm saying goodbye to something that I love. I love my friends. I love the community we had there. So saying goodbye was incredibly difficult. But we did it, and I knew it's going to be difficult. It was difficult before as well. When I moved away from Dublin, for example, it was hard to say goodbye to all of my friends there, but I did it, and it was a really good decision for me. So I was like, okay, that's just natural. So we then moved away, packed up all of our stuff. It was super stressful with like all the shipping and everything of our boxes. And long story short, we then moved to New Zealand. And I think what made New Zealand, in a weird way, more tricky or difficult for me than like Dublin, Scotland or London was that I didn't have my own place anymore. So I'm a very independent person. I moved out when I was, I think, 19, 20, and we moved back in with Nick's mum to the farm. The farm was beautiful. It was really fun to live there, but from one day to another, I felt like all of my independence was ripped away from me. And that was something I really struggled with. So that's something I didn't have when I moved abroad beforehand. Like I always had my own flat. I sorted myself out, and most of the time I didn't even know anyone there, or just like 1 or 2 people. And I was all by myself, kind of taking care of everything by myself, doing it the way I want to do it. And suddenly I didn't have that. Like I lived with someone else. I lived in a household that was already existent. And then of course we didn't have a car straight away. So like public transport on a countryside is like not really a thing here. And I think that was the first time the thoughts of regret came into my mind. And I think regret is something that people don't really talk about a lot, where a lot of people were like,
don't say you ever regret something in your life.
And it's like, no, I don't agree. Like you can regret things, but you can also just think about why you regret them, what's not good about them, and how you can fix it and move on from it. So that was the first time I was like, oh, did I make the wrong decision of leaving all my friends and my life behind and moving abroad, have no independence anymore, and just feeling a bit stuck and trapped. And it's really hard to say because I know everyone tried their absolute best for me to be happy and have a good time there, but I'm just very honest, like I struggled. And I think that's something that when you move abroad, you have to accept. You have to accept that there will be times where things are not going the way you want them and you're like, what the hell have I done? Why did I make this step? And there's actually a really interesting study about this, which is the Kugleros Model. I'm gonna insert it here as well, which is quite funny when you look at it retrospectively, how you have different stages that you go through when you move abroad. And I think it's so true. So basically you start off with a shock, so a surprise or shock at the event. So like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like being overwhelmed with it. And then denial and disbelief. In a weird way, it's probably like you wake up like the first mornings and like, what the hell just happened here? What have I done? And then the point probably where I am right now a little bit is frustration. Frustration and recognition that things are different, and sometimes you might even get angry. For example, I'm living in Auckland now and I'm frustrated about public transport. I'm so frustrated that those buses are always cancelled or late, and I'm always like, oh, why? I'm getting so angry because it's like in London you had this really built out public transport system and everything was there and it was great. I had all of my friends there. Now I'm frustrated that I feel like I want to go out for a coffee with or for brunch with my friend, and I can't because I don't have any friends here yet. It's all of those things that make me feel angry and frustrated, and you kind of fall into this step of being like depressed at some point. So ideally you don't fall that deep that you get depressed, but you can get to the stage where you're like, what have I done? I just want to quit and leave. And you cry and be like, I regret it. I regret being here. I regret making this decision. And I think that's the kind of time you really have to stick through and kind of like tough it out in a way, which sounds a bit silly, but like you just have to stick through this time and kind of like try to push through and like try to come out on the other side, because it does get better, and 100% does get better. I've been through this before. I've been through this in London. When I think back, it's like there was a time where I was like, I want to pack my bags. To be fair, there was like a global pandemic that didn't make it easier, but I was like, I pack my bags and I'm gonna leave. I regret being here. I don't want to be here anymore. And I pushed through it. And now I'm looking back to London and be like, it was one of the best times of my life. So it's like, I'm currently at this point where I'm like, I have to push through it. And I know it will get better. Of course, everything is frustrating at the start. And of course, you're gonna have those thoughts of regret and it's like, what am I doing? But it's just all about sticking to it and giving it the best you can. And that's currently where I am, where I'm like, I try to find a good bakery around the corner. I try to make friends with people at work. I try to go out. We're going out tonight, which normally I'm not a person that goes out partying a lot, but tonight we're going out with some old friends of Next who bring along other people. It's like, just take those opportunities and just try to give it your best and try to put all your energy into it, and you will see that it will get better. And then at some point the curve will go up again and you will try things, you get used to things, you start to get happy again, and from there on it just gets better and better, and you kind of feel settled and you feel more grounded and you start to actually feel at home. The reason I am very honest about all of this and I wanted to talk about it is because I feel like it is not a topic that a lot of people on YouTube seem to talk about when they move abroad. They always kind of glorify, it's like, oh, look at me, look at my new life, and look at all of those amazing things, but no one talks about this kind of dip that you fall into at the start. And I think no matter what you do at the start, there'll always be this like initial shock moment on like, oh my God, like everything's new, I can't deal with it, there's too much newness kind of thrown at me and I don't know how to deal and juggle with all of this. And honestly, we really didn't have an easy time with everything that's been going on. Like, we still don't have our car is still on the South Island because our ferry got cancelled. We had to like rebook flights, we had to spend a lot of money on all of this. We still don't have most of our stuff here. It's all sitting in the car on the South Island, but it's all about this mindset of like, don't let it get to you. Try to like stay positive, and it's like, it doesn't matter, I don't need all of my clothes now, I have the necessities here, and like that's enough to live with for the next 4 weeks until I get the car, I get the rest. And just like try to kind of not fall too much into this like dip. That's something that was kind of on my heart and I wanted to talk about, and I'd love to hear your experiences about this, because I know I'm not the only person out there to go through that. I feel like everyone goes through this when you move abroad, and I think it's just very important to not ignore that not everything is always perfect, and to not glorify moving abroad. So that's kind of my take on it. And that brings me to the next part of the video, where I kind of want to talk about where I am now and my job and what my job is, because I never mentioned this on my channel. I was always a bit like, no one's gonna be interested anyway, but I kind of feel like people might be interested in it. So I work in digital marketing for the last, what is it now? I think about 5 years now. So I've always worked in marketing, in digital marketing. I did like internships when I was younger in marketing, so I always knew I wanted to work in marketing, and I now ended up in a marketing agency. So you basically work with clients and they want to outsource their marketing, and that's where I am. I'm on the other side, kind of doing all of their marketing. That includes any like paid marketing, so social media, Facebook, Instagram, search, all of that kind of stuff. So I've worked pretty much across most things, but probably the most interesting is like the social media marketing aspect. So I've done a lot of that as well, and I think that's what I want to bring into my channel a bit more, because I feel like YouTube in a way is also social media. You just market yourself. So I kind of feel like it ties in quite nicely, and I'm working in the industry for a few years now, so I do know quite a lot about it. So I thought I want to share my experience of like how it is to work in social media marketing. I've definitely worked my way up, and I thought I can just share my insights of how to get into it, how to be successful in this industry, and kind of like share my knowledge about it, kind of how a day-to-day work life looks like. So yeah, that's about that. I'm not going to talk much more about this because I want to do separate videos, but let me know if you find it interesting. Sorry it was such a long video. Well done if you made it all the way to the end. But yeah, I'm gonna get ready now. As I said, I'm going out tonight, so I want to go to some charity shops and see if I find something nice, because I don't really have anything to wear because it's still in the South Island in the car, but it doesn't matter. See the positive aspect. I'm gonna go to a charity shop and find something else, something nice to wear. I hope you have a good day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!